What's going on, guys? It is DreddHound back with another Houndcast. We have a special guest here. I am super excited. You guys know her, you love her. We have Slade, the voice of Topaz, with Topaz and Numby in the hit game Honkai Star Rail. How are you doing today?
I'm so good. How are you?
I'm doing really good. Once again, thank you very much for the opportunity. I reached out and you were so very prompt with your responses and generous with your time. So I sincerely wanted to say thank you.
Oh, well, thank you for reaching out. I appreciate it.
Well, I did want to say I enjoy this game tremendously. And I love seeing that, the voice actors and devs, that you guys are enjoying the game as well and are very much a part of this community on both sides. So that is fantastic. So I just want to say thank you. Thank you. How are you enjoying things?
Honestly, I love it. I love being part of this world. I love enjoying Hoyoverse's games. I was a not quite day one Genshin player. I started playing like November of 2020. So when Star Rail was first announced about a year later, I think about a year later, my first reaction was, how do I play this game? But I didn't understand their whole like closed beta system. So I was just tearing up the internet. Like, how do I download this? Where is this game? Why are people playing it? And it's not me. And then, of course, later we got more information over time, but never once did I, at the time, think that I'd be, contributing to the beauty and the lore and the vast universe that these games are encompassing. So I'm just happy to be here.
That's also, and I'm probably going to say this all the time, and I do apologize, but it's always cool talking to the voice actors and seeing and interacting with the character, and then hearing your voice. I feel like you're about to tell me I owe you money.
Topaz is my speaking voice. I use this voice literally every day.
That's awesome. But let's get into it. How did you start your acting career?
It was kind of on a whim. Much like a lot of other people, a lot of other voice actors. I started during the pandemic. At the time, I'm going to say it and then I'm going to explain it. So I had just finished grad school. For the past 2 years until then, I was doing grad school part-time originally, then full-time on top of working full-time, just because I like staying busy. And I knew eventually at the time where my career was projected, I would need a master's. And I was like, well, I'm in my early mid-20s. I have time. I have energy. I don't have money, but that's what student loans are for, right? Let's go back to school. So I did that. And then I finished school and I said, what am I going to do with all of this free time? I have no idea what I'm going to do with all of it. And a little bit of background about me. I've been involved in the performing arts since I was a toddler, basically. I played piano growing up, starting when I was about 3. And then through middle school, I was in choir. And then high school, I went up and joined marching band, percussion ensemble. And then all throughout college, I was in my college marching band. So I've always been a musician. I've always been a performer. But during the pandemic, after college, I realized how much I really missed it. And there aren't terribly too many opportunities to perform as an adult, unlike when you were in school, and these ensembles are much more easier to access. So, of course, there were local ensembles, but with the pandemic, existing, it wasn't feasible to be part of them. So I just so happened to kind of hit that wall of, I have all of this free time. I have all of this creative energy. I don't know what to do with it. I really want to do something. And I was kind of venting to a friend one day on Discord, and we were playing Genshin because we were co-oping Genshin nonstop back then, much like I'm pretty sure a lot of other people.
Yes.
And she was like, I've seen this website called Casting Call Club, and I know a lot of people, because they were like in the indie dev space a little bit, visual novels and game jams and all that. They're like, I have some friends who use this to cast, voice actors. I mean, they're all amateur, indie, whatever you want to call them, like not, Los Angeles working pros, of course. And a lot of these jobs don't pay, but I mean, it's something if you want to try something. And I was like, oh, what? I've never acted before. What are you saying? This is so embarrassing. Absolutely not. And then a week later, I very quietly slinked over to Casting Call Club and I started submitting to all these random little indie projects. And then over time, I realized how much I really enjoyed it. And being an adult and having expendable income, I'm really grateful to have been in a position where I could start, slowly dipping my toes in more. I had the time, I had the resources to do so. I started taking classes, started taking private lessons, got a super, super indie demo just so I had something to show of, this is what I can do at this point in my career. And just over time, I realized how much I really enjoyed it. And I'm like a little aggressively ambitious. And if I know I enjoy something and I know I don't suck at it, I'm just going to keep pushing until someone else tells me to stop doing it. So I kind of just did that with voice work. Like I said, I really enjoyed doing it, and that passion really drove my desire to get better and do more and see how far this is going to take me, And I just kind of messed around and found out, and then over time, I just started I started booking more. I met some amazing people who supported me in my career. Find myself at a weird crossroads where I was like, I don't think this is a hobby anymore. I don't know what I'm going to do with my life. I'm basically an MBA. What am I going to do with this now? I just finished grad school, and now I'm going to quit my job and be an actor? What am I going to, had a whole career crisis. And that was not taken very lightly. But all in all, just lots of small decisions and small opportunities and small instances kind of just conglomerated into this massive, decision I was going to make in my life. This can turn into something more if I put a little more into it, or I can, just kind of coast under the radar and keep it a hobby and have fun. I mean, I'm having fun either way. But, when you enter the professional space, there comes a point where you need to, evaluate your time and your effort. And, if this is going to be a full-time job, or if I need to put full-time job time into this and effort into this, I'm going to need to make some sacrifices. So I've been doing this, I would say almost 3.5 years now, and my life has changed substantially. And honestly, I wouldn't trade it for the world. I am so lucky to have the best job in the world, objectively. I'm sorry, I don't make the rules. This is the best job in the world. It's hard. It's really hard work, and it's not always rewarding because we send hundreds, some people thousands of auditions a year, and we hear back from, I don't know, less than 5% of those. So we just kind of work for free until someone says, hey, you, here, come join this project, whether it's commercial or audiobook or video games or what have you. So long story short, I got bored, picked up a hobby, monetized the hobby, which I don't recommend, but then realized I really, really, really enjoyed it, and then just kept doing my thing until I wound up where I am now.
Aggressively ambitious, I feel as though was so perfect for what I've seen from your career. I am shocked to hear you say you started in 2020, because you're part of some major hitting properties here. Epic 7, Honkai Star Rail, Punishing Gray Raven, Brawl Stars. These are not small startup projects. You dove in, and you dove in with full-on confidence. You love to see it. That is phenomenal.
Like I said, I'm so grateful to have the support system that I do, and the people in my corner. My agents are amazing. I literally would not be where I am now without them. Amazing friends. They always say that you are a product of who you surround yourself with, and I absolutely attribute a lot of my, frankly, aggression and the success I have in my career because my friends and I all have that drive to just grow and do better. And when you surround yourself with people who all have that same energy, you all rise together, right? Rising tides, lift all ships. So, I wouldn't be where I am if I didn't have the people with me who helped me get to where I am. So that's really if I could thank any one person, I can't. It takes a whole village to raise an actor. So
that is beautiful. And from what I'm hearing, it sounds like there's so many parallels between voice acting and content creation, right? Because there's so many times when I tell people, when you're starting out in the content creation space, do not start out looking to make money, because you won't. that's going to come far later. Start out because it's something you want to do and you have fun with it, and then the rest will come if it's
exactly. It's kind of hard really to approach any line of creative or especially freelance work with money in mind. There is no quick buck in any sort of line of work like this, especially if you're, out there looking for the work yourself. You can't really just kind of sit around and wait for the paychecks to come to you. That's just not really how it works. But unless you're working a W-2 full-time 40-hour-a-week job, you can't expect the money. It comes when it comes, if it comes.
Yes, ma'am. Well, let me ask, how did you land the role of Topaz? Because I feel like your voice suits her so well. Like the character, it just works.
I auditioned and then I booked it. I got the audition from the casting director. So just a little bit about how these things work behind the scenes. Yeah. So actors get auditions in any one of many different ways. There are mailing lists called rosters that either studios or casting directors will keep. Usually those lists include actors who they've worked with before, people who've been referred to them. Sometimes these individuals or studios will have submission forms you can fill out, and they'll go through it once every blue moon and decide, this person might be a good fit for my roster. They'll add you to a mailing list. So every so often, depending on, just however much work the casting director or the studio has at the time, whenever projects do come through, whenever it's time to cast, you'll receive an email and you'll get the audition. Likewise, those same individuals, both the studios and the casting directors, will send auditions to agents. Sometimes they don't have a roster. Sometimes they don't reach out to talent directly. Everyone's different. So in that case, they reach out to the agents, and the agents will distribute the auditions to their roster. And sometimes they'll send it to everyone, and sometimes they'll just kind of handpick talent who they think would submit a very competitive audition, just because sometimes casting will say, send me 5, send me 10, don't send me everyone. We want to, get this done and over with, frankly, but also send us the best that you got. So, and auditions really are just spaghetti on a wall. Of course we all put our whole hearts into it because we do that with everything that we do. But if you hang yourself up on everything that you submit, it's going to be a really tough career. And of course we all find ourselves attached to characters, to franchises, to a read that we were like, damn, that was a really good read. I think that was probably some of my best work in an audition ever. And sometimes, we think about it while we're trying to fall asleep at night, and then it, kind of chases us for the next 2 weeks. And it can take a week, it can take 3 weeks, it can take a month, it can take a year before you hear back from casting. So it's best there's a phrase that we all kind of adopt, just send and forget. We submitted an audition and I don't even know what it is. It just, bye, I already forgot about it. And Topaz was one of those. It was one of those send and forget. And I remember I submitted about 6 months, about 5 or 6 months before I was cast. So it was a little bit of a dry season for me. So I didn't get terribly too many auditions. It was just that time of year where things just kind of slow down. Yeah. So I was like, I get something in my inbox, I submit it, I don't think about it. But, I'm just, I'm spending more time with myself right now, less time in the booth, just because it's a slow time of year. So I hear back about 5-6 months later, and they contact my agent. I had submitted directly to the casting director. So I'm like, okay, cool. So they know I have an agent now, because I didn't get my agent until a couple months after I submitted that. Okay. So they reached out to my agent. I was like, oh, great. They know I have an agent. Perfect. They're like, hey, we want to book Sam Slade for this game, because all of these games use code names. We never really know what the game is. Sometimes they tell us, sometimes they don't. Sometimes we find out when we get to the session, and sometimes we just never find out until we hear a voice in a trailer and go, oh, wait, that's what that game I recorded was. Okay, got it. We're not always in on the loop ever. We don't really know anything. We show up, do the job, and leave. I get the email and they're like, yeah, so we're going to book you on this day for this time. Go ahead and put this date on hold, pencil it in. We'll get back to you to confirm the session in a little bit. And it's like, great. So then about a week later, they come and they confirm the booking, and they're like, okay, awesome. So we've confirmed your booking. You'll be, here's your script for Topaz. And I was like, Topaz. And I go back in my email inbox and I type Topaz. And sometimes games will scrub their auditions, meaning they'll use placeholder names, placeholder images. Okay. They'll rewrite lines. They won't use lines that are exactly in the game, just because depending on the client, sometimes they want to keep things under wraps as much as possible, especially if it's a title that hasn't been announced. So this wasn't one of those instances where they scrub it all the way through. So they used Topaz's real name. And I was like, who is this? And I clicked on it and I went, oh, I liked this girl. I really liked this girl, because I remember this audition. I just I try everyone's acting techniques are different, but if I feel like based on the specs I read for a character, if it feels like I can just kind of slip into their skin and be me, but like don't be me, be Topaz, but like,
Right.
you know what I mean? Insert my personality into Topaz and just kind of see what happens there. Those are the ones I usually feel pretty good about, and this was one that worked out. So I just kind of slipped in. And, you know, of course, your first couple sessions are not quite exploratory, but both you and the director are still learning who this character is, what they sound like,
Okay.
you know, what are their personalities, what are their quirks, what are the intricate details about these characters that aren't written on paper. You know, what are the inferences you can make on this character based on how they present themselves and how they speak to their colleagues versus their friends versus versus strangers, you know? So yeah, I honestly, I just felt so at home with her. It was great. And there came a point in my sessions where I came in, and usually the director, usually in our sessions, we have the director, we have the client, we have the engineer, and sometimes they'll have like writers and whatnot.
Yeah.
So there came a point where the director and I were just in such a, like, it's such in sync with this character. He was like, all right, Sam, just go. Just do your thing. I trust you. If you do something wrong, I'll let you know. But you know this character. You're fine. Just go. So my sessions just were going so fast because I was just opening my mouth and Topaz was already here. So
No.
it was great.
Well, I mean, it's safe to say that Topaz is aggressively ambitious. So
She is. She is.
That's awesome, because it seems like you were able to just, you know, put on, you know, the skin of that character and just move right into it. So that is phenomenal.
Exactly. And it's so funny because the more I learned about her, the more I was looking at the casting director like, did you do this on purpose? Do you know me more than I think you know me? Like, hold on a second. What do you mean this is a woman in her mid-20s who, like, ascended in her company so fast, almost accidentally, but not quite, that she became, like, a senior level manager in her mid-20s, and now she has to be aggressive because people don't take her seriously because she's young and she has a lot of pets and she loves her pets,
Yeah.
but she also works in business. And I was, like, checking off all the boxes in my head of all the areas I overlapped. I was like, what in the world? Because at one point I was also a very young senior level manager in a company I was working at. And so I was like, I can relate. I understand. If you're not, because especially as a woman, if you're not aggressive, there's like a very fine line between being professional and then, like, you know, being not professional. But I feel like as a woman, especially when you're young and you're in a position where a lot of people who report to you are older than you and men, you have to deliver information in such a way that makes it objective and powerful, but there's a fine line between being powerful and being a bitch, and that's when they stop listening. Frankly, if I'm being honest, and I'm sure a lot of women who have found themselves in leadership positions can absolutely agree. And even then, sometimes it's still not enough, and you know, it's a little frustrating, but you know, when I read that she was in that position, I was like, oh, I know exactly what's happening here.
And I feel as though it comes across well, and I relate to a lot of that because in my professional career in sales, I, you know, got to management level fairly early in my 20s. And having those, you know, who are older than you, but, you know, have to take direction from you, it is a line that you have to tread. So I understand that 100%. But let me ask, you know, how do you feel about the Honkai Star Rail community and your place within it?
Oh, they're awesome. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, it was a little intimidating, especially seeing how quickly the Genshin community built themselves up over the few years that they have been around. I know the pandemic definitely contributed to that because, I mean, who wasn't no-lifing a video game during the pandemic, right? And a lot of people found comfort in those communities, which is one reason why the Genshin community is so strong. But I'm not going to lie, it scared the daylights out of me knowing that there is potentially a group of people with, you know, eyes that razor sharp who would be looking at me and my performance. Because, I mean, don't get me wrong, the other games and properties I'm a part of are, you know, cult classics. They've got their really dedicated fans, but they're not quite as public as the Hoyoverse properties are. So, one, I was terrified. I was very nervous. I didn't know people were going to respond to her. I didn't know how people were going to like her character or not like her character, because, like I said, there's a fine line between being a powerful woman and being something people don't like. So I was really nervous. I'm not gonna lie. But you know, everyone has just been so warm and welcoming. And I started streaming recently because, I mean, I play a lot of video games on my own in my own house by myself, and I talk to myself. And after, doing some group streams with Star Rail actors and other content creators. And I'm just like, like, this is fun. I like spending time with my friends and playing games with my friends. And then there's an audience, because then it's, it involves more people and it becomes interactive. And then, who doesn't like having like a really funny moment and you can turn to them and be like, did anyone else see that? Oh my God, that was so good. That is just so gratifying. And then after a while, people were like, are you going to solo stream? And I was like, no. And then I did. Mainly because I just played so much Baldur's Gate. I was like, I need someone to talk to. And then it was like, hey, I'm really behind in Penacony. And someone was like, you just got to stream it. They got to hold you accountable. And I was like, I don't like that answer, but I will accept that answer, which is why I started streaming Star Rail. And here I am. I love it. I really do. I didn't think I was going to enjoy it as much as I do. So the community really has almost everything to do with that. Because, they come together and, I don't... Some of their Twitch usernames, man, they're so funny.
Yes.
Like there was someone named Numby Left Teeth in my chat yesterday. It was hilarious. And then, like I think I've seen, like, Acheron's, like, garter belt or whatever, Aventurine's chest window. Like, these guys are so funny. Like, I absolutely love how absurd the sense of humor is and just how, like, loose and unserious the fandom can be, because... like, that's right up my alley. And I love when I can, banter with people with similar interests. So.
No, I hear you. Well, I do have to mention, you have quite a few super fans in my stream. I got to mention, we got Spotted and we got Leo. Whenever I play Topaz or I mention Topaz, if they were lurking, it's almost like I put up the bat signal. They're like, what? They just appear. They love your voice. They love your work. And I feel as I would be doing them a disservice if I did not mention their names here. So.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you. When we do what we do as actors, I mean, like, a lot of us do what we do because we love doing it, obviously. And some people, I don't know about other actors, but for me, I'm just like, I'll put out the best product I can. I will have... they don't say we go and we play in the booth for nothing. Like, I'll go and I'll play and I'll have a damn good time. And if this is a product that people enjoy, then that's great for me. But, if it isn't, then it is what it is. And I'm just really glad that this happens to be the former and that, people really do enjoy it. And I love hearing it. It never gets old. It really doesn't.
That's awesome. Well, let me ask, I am super excited for this question. How did it feel to play the antagonist who really was just doing their job?
It was so funny. I had no idea she was going to be an antagonist. No, not a clue. I showed up one day and, you know how loose she is. She's like, hey, what's up? Like, yeah. Hey, we're friends, we're chill. And the director was like, oh, no, she's mean. And I was like, huh? He was like, no, she's like mean. And I was like, oh, okay. And I'm like looking at the script, because we usually don't get the script very far ahead of time, because, editors are making changes last minute. So a lot of the times when we're performing, that's the first time we're seeing the words on paper ever. So a lot of it is cold reading and just instinct. So I didn't really have a lot of time to look at the script beforehand. I think I got it like 15 minutes before the session. So I skimmed it and I was like, oh, wait. So she's like, oh no, I did not see this coming. So the director, I told him, I was like, hey man, like, you're here to direct, I'm here to act. If I'm not where you need me to be at, just keep smacking me around. Like, it's fine. So he did that. He was like, meaner, angrier. I want you to think of something that really pisses you off. Like, I don't know, like animal violence, like that pisses everyone off. I mean, don't think about it. I would prefer you not think about it, but if you have to find something to really make you angry, like, that's a go-to for a lot of people, I'm sure. And I'm just like, okay, well, how do I always try and be as genuine as possible when I exert emotions in the booth, because, there's a very glaring point where it's like, oh, they're acting and, oh, this is, something the actor is experiencing and they just so happen to be in front of a microphone, and I try to go for the latter in my performances. So I, slipped into that how angry can I get mode, and it doesn't happen very often because I've taught myself over the years to just, if there's not a body on the table, it's not a big deal. Don't get mad about it. I'm very sleepy all the time. I have 3 energy. Why would I waste it being mad? So all those years of pushing down the mad really bit me in the butt. He was like, get mad. And I was like, I forgot how to do that, man. And at one point he was like, Sam, I want you to read this line like you are holding a taser behind your back and no one knows except for you. And you're ready to use it. You don't want to use it, but I mean, if they don't get it together, like, you have ways to persuade them. It is the taser. Read the line. I went, okay. And that helped me through a lot of like the Svarog dialogue, especially because I was like, I don't want to be a cartoon villain, right? You don't want to get too like, you know, ooh, how evil can we get? But like, you know, she's here to do her job, do it well, and then go home to cuddle with her animals. Like, I don't blame her. To me, Topaz feels very 9 to 5, but I mean, obviously her job is so involved. She's, you know, probably going to have to commit to beyond 9 to 5. Yeah. But like when she's not at work, she's not at work. But when she's at work, she's giving 140%. So I was like, we're just going to take all of this information that I have and the imaginary taser behind my back, and we'll see what happens. So it was a challenge. It really was.
I feel like that's the perfect analogy because it really, it wasn't a drastic shift because you were always like, hey, we're going to have to give her money. But it really went from like, hey guys, how are you? To, by the way, they just told me I can attack the Express now. So I was like, oh, yep. Wait a minute.
Yep. But, you know, she says it with a smile because she's you know, she's pretty charming. She knows what she's doing. She knows what she's saying. She's pretty good at talking to people. I mean, she does it for a living. And I mean, as far as we're aware, she's the most sane of everyone on her team. So I don't even know how far we're going to go from here. I mean, we met Aventurine already. He's a lot. So
that guy's shady. That guy's very shady.
You know, I'm not going to be the one to say it. I think he's doing his job too, but I think he takes his job a little more onto the personal side as well. Topaz draws that hard line.
That guy works overtime.
Oh, he works overtime all the time.
Well, let me ask. I have to ask this question because the more things move along, I am finding that people have told me, they're like, hey, I think you sound very nice on the microphone. You know, that's kind of something that led me into streaming. But I am exploring some interest in a possible, you know, voice acting. Like, you know, maybe just reading like some books and things of that nature. What is some advice you would have for aspiring voice actors like yourself?
Yeah. Do your research first and foremost. There are some amazing tools and guides out there for people who don't even know where to start. Because I mean, quite honestly, a lot of us had no idea where to start unless you knew someone who knew someone, or, you know, knew someone who knew what they were doing, or whatever, or unless you were, you know, smarter than most of us, just Googled how to be a voice actor. Then, you know, we just kind of flopped around in the dark until we found something that resembled a light source. And we were like, oh, okay, this is where we are now. The website, iwanttobeavoiceactor.com, is so underrated. I feel like a lot of actors suggest it, and the recipient of whoever is being told this information goes, okay, that was condescending. Except, like, actually, it's a great resource. There's some really, really good stuff in there. Okay. And everything from, I am starting at ground zero, how do I start? To, you know, I have a nice voice, what do I do? To, you know, stepping stones based on where you're coming from. But at the end of the day, my biggest suggestion is, at the end of the day, like, it is voice acting, but it is acting. So any kind of acting class you can possibly take, improv, local theater, even like online acting classes, because there are a lot of people with voices who are like kind of pleasant. And to be completely honest, I am not a huge fan of my voice. I think it's too distinct. Like I have a very distinct voice and it drives me crazy. And for the longest time, I hated it. And I'm like, I don't have a good sounding voice, in my opinion. And this is not going to get me where I want to go if I actually want to do this for a living. And that's when you really think about it, where like voice and acting really start to show their differences. And it's the acting that's going to take you to the next level and to the next, you know, milestone of yours. And that's what's going to put you apart from anyone else who has a silky smooth radio voice, you know, in the audition queue. Because I mean, a lot of people really do. There are some really nice sounding people out there, and I'm just like, damn, can't relate. Anyway, I sound like a squeaky tire most days,
No.
but I can act. So, but I mean, long story short, it's the acting, and that's what's going to put you far above a lot of people who are in a similar position who don't know where to start. And it's what's going to give you the best foundation and give you the best understanding of how the industry works and where to start and how to frame your mindset. Because at the end of the day, just like any other creative art, you can go the hobby route or you can go the career route. And plenty of people say, I'm going to pick up ballet, or I really want to learn ice skating, or I'm going to start taking singing lessons. But when people think about it like, I'm going to be an ice skater, or I'm going to be a professional ballerina, you have to step back and think about the art behind their hobby and what they do and what differentiates someone who does it for fun versus a professional who gets paid to do it. Not everyone wants to go the professional, I do this for a living, I pay my bills doing this route. A lot of people do, but not everyone does. And that's totally fine. There's just as much fun in doing passion projects and doing game jams and comic dubs and, whatever your friends are doing as there is, voicing in Honkai Star Rail, like however you feel successful and get pleasure and like feel happy doing your art, like do that. However it brings you fulfillment, do that. So there are amazing resources out there that help you get started from wherever you are, and they kind of point you in different directions and give you like snapshots of this is what it looks like if you want to go this route, and this is what it looks like if you want to go this route. And if you want to go one way, you find out later that the other way is much more appealing to you. By all means, a lot of us have gone in that direction, whether it's, aggressively starting pro and then being like, I am burnt out, I'm going to go hobby, or, I'm going to do this as a hobby. I don't want to impede on anyone's, people do this for a living. I'm just here to have fun. I don't want to take jobs away, to going, oh my God, this is actually a lot of fun. I'm not bad at this. I'm going to, see how competitive I can get. So
Okay.
yeah, I want to be a voiceactor.com is amazing. Voice Acting Club is another amazing resource. Kira Buckland, who's a very seasoned actor, and her amazing team have put that resource together. They have an entire forum, online board section with guides and documents and templates and everything. And they have a Discord server that's open to the public too, where a lot of like-minded people who are just starting out, people who've been doing this for a couple years, people who've been doing this for 10, 15 years as hobbies, and they just love doing it for fun. Everyone comes together and shares their experiences and, just it talks about voice acting. So
you just gave a wealth of information. I'm so very thankful for that, and I hope you guys are very thankful for that as well. Like, that is phenomenal. And let me ask, is there a property or even a role, not that anyone's trying to take anyone's job, but is there a property or a role you would have loved to have been a part of or voiced?
I will say, I know that a lot of companies are remaking games now because us millennials love nostalgia. Yes, and they're looking back at everything we grew up on and they're going, yoink, let's just make this better so we can keep taking their money. And part of it kind of pisses me off, but the rest of me goes, no, please give me the thing that made me happy when I was a kid. Please, I want to relive it again.
Yes.
So if they're ever going to make a Grandia remake, I mean that game is pretty old now. So I mean for all I know they could reuse actors, but I know sometimes they do recast. Not that I want anyone to not come back to their jobs, but you know how it is. So if Grandia ever gets a remake, if I get those auditions in my inbox, it's game over. I can die happy. Just being in the room to audition for it would make me the happiest girl in the world. And Legend of Mana, really any of the Mana series, man, those were my first video games. So it's just, it would just come full circle at that point, and I would just be so happy because at the end of the day, I'm just happy to be here. I'm not super picky about, oh, I need to be in this game, I need to be in this anime, I need to be in anime. I'm like, nah, dude, I'm happy just chilling and being in commercials, and that's what brings the money in anyway. So that pays my student loans. But I mean, it is what it is. I know it sounds corny, but I'm chilling. I'm happy to be here. So I'm happy to read for anything. But if Grandia or the next Mana game rolls through my inbox, I will be elated beyond belief.
Well, it's like, to piggyback off what you said about the nostalgia, I don't know if you're into X-Men. X-Men 97, they literally took one of the most popular 90s properties and just continued it. They brought back a lot of the original voice actors. They continued the animation style, and it just felt like I stepped back into waking up as a kid on Saturday morning. And I love that feeling. So I get what you
Ah,
need 100%.
I love that. I love that so much. And as long as they do it well, because we've all seen, you know,
Yep.
producers try and, I mean, I don't know if their intent was to make a quick buck, but sometimes it just doesn't land. It is what it is. We never know what projects are going to be successful and which ones aren't. But sometimes you can tell when their heart's not in the right place. So as long as their hearts are and we are all happy with it, then please keep doing it.
Yes, ma'am. Well, Sam, I very much appreciate your time. I know you are very busy, acting, collecting debts, doing your thing. Where can the good people, the House of Hounds, find more of you?
Yeah, so you can find me on Twitter and Twitch and TikTok at It's Sam Slade. Literally, it's ITS Sam Slade. And I think on Instagram, I'm still Sam Slade VO. I'm just kind of slowly switching over my handles. So if by the time you're listening to this and Sam Slade VO either takes you to like a dead page that redirects you to It's Sam Slade, or if it's still there, it is what it is. Just depends on how lazy I am when I want to go to change my Instagram username. But I'm much more active on Twitter than really anywhere else. I will ride that sinking ship until it is gone. I'm really stubborn with my social media. Once I plant my roots, I don't move. So.
No, listen. Watching your interactions, seeing you play the game, you have been phenomenal. I very much appreciate your time. You are all it blew my mind hearing you say you just started in voice acting. You're going to have a legendary career. I know I'm going to look back and be like, yo, I spoke to her.
You were so sweet. Thank you. I appreciate it. I mean, I'm here to have fun, and if success and money and whatever comes to me, it does. I mean, when in acting, we never know what's going to be our last job. We always hope that we're going to keep going, but it's a gig job, and we only have as many jobs as there are available. So I take everyone like it could be my last, and I have fun with it. I'm chilling.
That is phenomenal. Well, Sam, I appreciate you. Thank you very much. And guys, as always, stay fierce, keep gaming, and welcome to the House of Hounds. Peace.